Welcome to the Brownsville Minute, a community-conscious conversation and a platform that provides information, wellness, love, and unity all on a digital platform. And our goal is to try to make sure that our community residents are informed, conscious, and that we are connecting the dots on a virtual platform. The Brownsville Minute is designed for everyone. Please join us with the Brownsville Minute. Well, good evening, good people. Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Welcome to the Brownsville Minute. Good evening. Thank you for all who are joining us live. I am really excited to have you join us this evening. Hope that you all are doing well. Hope that you are safe in mind, body, and spirit. Um, I'm excited about today. And for those who are just joining us for the first time, I want to thank you for joining the Brownsville Minute. This is a platform where we have conscious conversations about the issues that impact residents of East Brooklyn. And so I am excited to have you join us because our conversations are one that is centered in love and in unity. And so when we are looking and participating on the Brownsville Minute, this is not one where we are, unfocused. It is one where we are supporting individuals that are really at the grassroots level within our community. So this is all about love. This is all about positivity, but this is also about information. My name is Anita Pierce, and I'm also the owner of the 11375. It is a business consultancy that helps to support other small businesses within communities that I am from, Brownsville, Brooklyn, and all over. The business is certified as a minority women business enterprise and also helps to focus in on providing communication and breaking down the link between communities. So if you are interested in supporting the work that we do at 11375, please check us out. We are on all the social platforms, but you can also check us out on our website at www.11375.com. And I actually want to also give a special shout out because we are in for a wonderful treat, but I want to shout out my SYEP youth ambassadors that have started since last week. They have been really patient with this process. So I see a few of them who have joined us, and I want to shout them out and thank you for listening to instructions and also supporting tonight's episode, because we are going to talk about this episode on Monday. So I want to shout them out because SYEP is really at the core of how we help and to create youth leaders. So it is really important that when you are focus in on, supporting young people at all different levels. We are a small business, but we're happy to teach them a skill set. So I'm shouting out everybody who is joining from my SYEP team. So enough about me, because clearly you'll see me every week, but I'm really excited about our conversation because I'm actually, now a plant mama as a result of, the advice that Ms. Grant gave me when we first met. So I'm really excited about to tell her about my experience being a real plant owner now. So without further ado, I want to introduce my special guest for this evening. Hey, Miss Grant. Welcome to the Brownsville Minute.
Hi, thank you so much, Anita. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. I mean, and before we actually really get into the conversation, it's official. I'm a plant mommy, like for real.
I'm super excited to hear that. What plant do you have right now?
Well, I did exactly what you told me to do. I took one of the bulbs from the garlic and I put it in. This was like after we talked. So now this is what, probably about 3 weeks ago we probably met. So now I saw stems growing.
It germinated and now you're getting your little saplings.
But I have some peppers now. So yeah, I couldn't tell you how excited I was. I'm like, it works. Oh my goodness. So enough about me and my exciting story. Let's find out who you are. What do you do?
I am a urban farmer, and outside of that, in my personal life, I'm also a writer, soon to be author in the upcoming near future. And I'm just a very creative person in general. I love writing, painting, drawing, just general arts and crafts like that.
And so you are a creative soul. Okay.
Yes.
That is great to know. And so you mentioned that you are an urban farmer. Like, what does that look like for you now? What does that really mean?
For me, it looks very different. As an urban farmer, I take it more so to be that I can find places to grow anything, no matter how much concrete there is in New York City, which we know is quite a lot.
Hmm.
Yet there's still always a piece of land or soil where we can grow something, even if it is inside or outside. So for me as an urban farmer, I do it within NYCHA developments, and to see how something that you wouldn't typically think to have a farm, to see how we're able to create farms and keep it going and sustain it and have them flourishing is just really beautiful for me.
And so I became more fascinated because you are a native of Brownsville. And
Yes.
so do you mind sharing your wonderful story about how you got started? Because I just think it's so beautiful.
Thank you. So how I got started with Green City Force was when the farm at Howard Houses was first being built. I was actually still a student in school, and I was just finishing up my last 2 years in high school. Um, and I saw that they were taking what I grew up knowing as just a recreational circle. People would walk their dogs, play football in the summer. I saw construction workers, well, what I had assumed to be construction workers, going in and starting to build things. My first immediate thought was, wow, we just have people coming in and taking another piece of the community from us. And in that moment, I instantly knew I wanted nothing to do with it. I was just like, you know what, they can have it. I'm just going to leave it where it is. Over time, though, I kept seeing more and more Black and brown people, some of them young, majority of them young, maybe one or two older people. And I got really interested because it made me think, is this something for Black and brown people, or is this just another scenario where it's going to be owned and run by white people, but Black and brown people are doing the labor, essentially? As time kept going on and the farm got finished being built, and there was nothing but Black and brown youth I was seeing on site, I became really interested. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let me stop, making assumptions and being scary. Let me just walk up and ask them, what is it? Like, what's going on here? I went to the team leader at the time and spoke to him, and he actually told me it was going to be a farm. And when I heard it was going to be a farm, like so many other people, I was like, what? A farm? You can't have a farm in New York City. At that time, my typical vision of a farm was like 3 acres of land in the country with nothing but rows and plots of produce growing. Yet he was firm. He was like, no, this is a farm. We're going to grow produce. This is a team that's going to be working here. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's great. And as the weeks went on, I would pass by every morning by school and see them. And I would just be like, okay, this is really cool. And then I was like, wait, if it's a farm, where does the things that y'all are growing go to? Are y'all going to be selling it? Is it for the community, or is it going out to like the Manhattan and Upper East Side, Lower East Side for, once again, white people? Little did I know that it was actually going to be free produce to give back to the community that was locally and organic grown at the farm itself. And that amazed me. That was just like the convincing point I needed. And at that moment, I just knew, yeah, this is something I want to be involved with. And from that day forward, anytime I had a break at school or any days I was off, and even once I finished school, I was going to the site and volunteering from the start of the day to pretty much the finish of the day. I got to know the teams there and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so when did it transition from volunteering to actually being a part of the team and then eventually becoming the team lead at the local location?
So I was actually a volunteer for 2 or 3 years of Green City Force. And then after that, I remember I was in between jobs and I had just finished my semester at college, and I was kind of like, I didn't know if I had wanted to go back yet. And I was just like, I do know I want to secure another working position, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And the team lead at that time was telling me like, oh yeah, we're going to be starting up a new cohort soon. You should definitely join. And a few of the team members had also been telling me for quite some time, like, yeah, Kyara, come and join. You should join. And so I did. I became a corps member for 6 months as Special Forces. And at the end of my term of service, when I graduated, I was offered a position to come and be the service coordinator at Howard Houses.
So I just wanted to connect the dots, right? For those who are actually watching live, because oftentimes we don't really understand how we could become engaged within our community. You started off volunteering.
Yes.
And that, in my opinion, is a part of being civically connected or engaged within your community. That is one way you can be involved. The other way is that not only did you not stick it out, but you then really became a part of this whole ecosystem now of volunteering, and now actually working for an organization that does give back immediately to the community. And so I want to talk about, what does the green economy really look like from your perspective? Because this is a part of something that is relatively not new with individuals who are from the Black and brown communities. Historically, right, we are farmers, right? Historically, not by choice, but we do have the skill set, to have that within our spirit. So describe what that looks like to you in modern day, if you don't mind.
So for me in modern day, especially in the environment where the farms are placed, which is NYCHA developments, for me, a green economy looks like very simple things, nothing over the top. Honestly, a lot of NYCHA developments don't recycle simply because if one person doesn't recycle, then they just can't recycle at all. Like, it throws off everything. So just implementing better recycling honestly looks like a green economy. Having cleaner businesses to eat and get produce and things of that nature from, and just more beautification happening from residents in the area, where if you have pets, you're cleaning up after your pets. You're not littering and throwing things out of your window as we commonly see. You're having respect for the place where you live, because your apartment isn't just the place you live, it's also the area surrounding. And I think people show more respect for that. I think solar panels on roofing in developments would be a huge step in the green economy in those developments, like the ones I work in and everything. Something else I would love to see is like water catchment systems on top of the roofs, so that this way, we've all had the struggle of in a NYCHA development where one day they cut the water off because something's wrong with the main source of water. Yet if we have a water catchment system, that could potentially be a backup or a reservoir for residents to be able to go and access water. They can attach a filter to it to filter out whatever may be in the rainwater, and residents can just have access to clean water while NYCHA is working on whatever they need to work on their end of things.
And so those seem like really realistic solutions in terms of how do you make something that seems so foreign, because when you look in other communities, those things that you speak of easily exist. So why not within our own backyard? And so how do you connect, the things that you mentioned specifically about the green economy, connecting it to social justice and community cohesion? What are your thoughts about that?
So for me, I really personally do believe that if you hold respect for the place you live, it changes your attitude. And if the place you live is beautiful and it looks nice and you feel safe and welcome in it, then it'll change the behavior in that area. So in certain NYCHA developments, it may not, there may be trash and litter everywhere. There may be, waste after pets everywhere, and it doesn't feel as nice as other developments or other areas in the city where you may go. And so residents tend to not respect it as much. which I can't really blame them for, because if you're seeing something that you don't think you should respect, you're not going to. I personally believe that if you're in a clean environment and you're in an environment that you feel welcomed in, it's going to create so much change in terms of the way how people interact with each other, in terms of just people's personal attitudes. Like, it doesn't even need to be a community thing. It doesn't need to start as a community thing, rather. It can simply start with, I personally like the way my development looks. I personally like the way it makes me feel. And that can change my outlook on how I'm going to respect the next resident living here. And that just continues like a chain.
And that makes so much sense, because we all, in my opinion, should be taking responsibility and accountability for the part that we play within this world.
Right.
We only have one space, in this world. Obviously, it's just one. I mean, other folks may think it's like other places, but right now we are occupying Earth. And
Right.
so doing little things that you're mentioning, simply as recycling. So I had a chance to, when we met, actually learn more about the space in which you actually directly support. And one of the things that was super fascinating was about, well, one, I was fascinated about the garlic, but everything else was just amazing. But the fact that that you use compost, like, would you describe that process? Because this is something that we can do within our own every day, like, from the things. Would you mind describing that process for individuals who are looking to do what you do?
Oh, yeah, of course. So compost is, first of all, it derives from the word decomposition. And I know most times when people hear that, they may think of the human body or waste, which it is tied to in terms of waste, but it's food waste. And it's the breaking down of food. So it's food decomposing. And at our site, specifically with Green City Forest, we only compost things like fruit peels, veggie peels, eggshells, things that are non-dairy, non-meat, and uncooked. So raw, non-dairy, and non-meat foods. And the process of it is, you start with the raw food scraps. So let's say, for example, I have apple peelings, banana peels, eggshells, and I just was going to toss them out. Instead of tossing them out, I can crush them up, add them to a mixture of browns. And browns, honestly, can just be crushed up dried leaves that you would see on the street in the fall, wood shavings if you have them, wood chips, things of that nature, we call browns, because it gives the compost, it helps balance out the nitrogen in the compost. So you would add your food scraps to your browns, mix it together, place it in a bin, and you would seal it with more wood chips or more browns. And over time, the food scraps are going to continue to break down. And the microorganisms that are breaking down in the food scrap is essentially what turns it to compost. It breaks it down, and insects start to come in, like earthworms, and you may see some roly-polies during the summer, but they are actually beneficial for the compost because they also help break down the food scraps that you put into the compost. You turn it every week to every 2 week to keep the airflow going, so that it doesn't get too moist or too dry, and that it doesn't smell, because compost, if it's not taken care of, can have a smell. Yeah, if it is taken care of, it smells like fresh soil, honestly. So you would just turn it every few weeks. And the full process of compost isn't as long as you might think. It's only 4 weeks, maximum 6, if you need extra time to restore your compost. Because let's say, for instance, it was a 4-day rainstorm and your compost got a little too wet, you may need an extra week to dry it out and get it back to where it originally was. That's the basics of compost. And then when it's all finished, you just sift it through to get the finely ground compost. And the bigger pieces, like wood chips and things like that, you can just put into the next batch of compost as a sealant.
And so really, this is something that can be done. The starting process could be done within a home, like, for example, within like a garbage can, or if they don't have, or it could be done in like a windowsill if you don't have like a large space which you have at your facility.
Yes. So you can do it in garbage bins. One thing that we collect our food scraps in is I believe it's 5 pounds. It's a black toter. If you have space for that, you can do it in one of those. There are different forms that you can do at home composting. One of them, I believe this is the right term, is a worm box. And you can actually, it's a quick Google search. It would essentially be you have a box of earthworms and you put your food scraps in there. And the earthworms have a speedier process of breaking down the food scraps for you and rapidly producing the compost for you. Um, or you can just put it in a small, like shoebox size container, honestly, and just switch it out just have a small batch of compost for household plants and just switch it out every month to start a new fresh batch. And to preserve it, you can put it in jars and things like that. Yet it is best to use it as soon as it's finished, because once it's completed, the longer you leave it out, the less of those good bacteria and microorganisms it has. But it can always be refreshed, where if you have compost that has been around for a while, if you can still put that same compost on your plants, and the nutrients from the plants will actually reactivate the good bacteria and microorganisms in the compost to start restoring it to its healthy state again.
And so I see a question that's coming from the audience. Hey, Kyara. The question is, does it need to be in a cardboard box, or will a plastic storage box work?
A plastic storage box will work just fine. You just want to make sure that it has ventilation, because you don't want it to be too stuffy. You want it to be able to have breathing room.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Jacob. So yeah, thank you for that. That was a question that I was really curious about. So you mentioned that at your location, and pretty much all of the locations within the NYCHA facilities, that there's food that's grown and given out for free.
Yes.
When do you all do that, and what types of food do you specifically grow at your location?
So our farm stands at all 5 of our sites at the moment are on Saturdays, and they're from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. At my site, the specific produce I have growing at the moment, we have carrots, dino kale, turnips, basil, Swiss chard, eggplants, garlic, onions, radishes, collards, uh, mustard greens, red Russian kale, bush beans, cabbage, red rosy pak choi, which is an Asian cabbage, scallions, tomatoes, peppers, jalapeno and bell peppers, okra, broccoli, and cauliflower, and zucchini.
And so guess what? And guess what? I'm willing to bet that probably people only want the mustard greens.
Our top contenders are mustards and collards.
Meanwhile, we got all the healthy stuff, the garlic, and all those other wonderful vegetables. Because I love okra. Okra is something that I steam, and sometimes I eat it raw, which is, my daughter looks at me like. But yeah, and so that's really interesting, because so you have a lot of products that you grow that help to heal the body, right?
Yes.
And so how do we open up the importance of feeding our bodies as a community, and opening up that conversation with like healthy foods, growing it, picking it, receiving it from a farm, and actually ingesting it within our bodies, to know that that's connected to the whole health cycle?
One main thing I like to think about in terms of connecting healthy produce and the produce that we have to the health cycle is, a lot of people, as they age, they tend to take vitamins, and everybody stresses the importance of having specific vitamins. Yet the same way how you can get the vitamins in these pills and capsules and pharmaceuticals, you can ingest them simply by eating this produce. You can eat greens and it will help boost up your iron. It'll help boost up your protein, and it serves the double purpose of filling you up, and it doesn't give you any side effects. Whereas with pharmaceuticals, they'll tell you, yeah, it has all these vitamins and nutrients and things to make you feel good. Yet on the flip side, it also has 72 side effects that are not really ideal for you. Whereas with produce, you have the healing benefits, like with garlic. I recently learned from somebody that if you boil garlic cloves and drink the boiled water, it'll help relieve indigestion if you have it. That's something I recently learned. Instead of taking Pepto-Bismol or Tums or an antacid, you can just boil some garlic cloves and drink the water. Now, granted, it may not taste the greatest, yet the same way with pharmaceuticals and how they have their side effects, there are certain things you kind of just have to accept. I'd rather accept the taste of garlic water than to have a side effect of my nose turning purple, for example.
Right. And so, Ashley, I'm going to put up another question. Ashley has a question. Are there any other places that you recommend besides your own site? Are there any other local farms that you can recommend?
So besides my own site, we have 4 other sites within Green City Forest. One in Bayview, Canarsie, Forest Hills, Forest Houses in the Bronx, Mariners Houses in Staten Island, Wagner Houses in Harlem. And there are a few other like partner farms we've worked with before. I know there's one in East New York Farms. Harlem Grown has one. So there are other places to go to. I don't know all of them off the top of my head. There may be some listed on our website as partner organizations, or even just a quick Google search of organic produce in New York City will give you a ton of answers.
Okay, great. And so, thank you for responding. How do you get community members involved? Because when they see your farm, are they still, just peeking out the window and saying like, "What's that?" Or are they getting involved?
So we do have some people who still peek out the window, not so much on a what's that level, because we've been around for long enough that they know who we are and we come knocking on the door often enough. It's more on a, oh, they're still out there, what are they doing this year level. We have some people who are a little bit more hesitant to come because I just believe it's that they're not familiar with, the produce being grown right outside their window. And that's okay. They'll get familiar on their own time. Everybody has their process. We do have a lot of engagement in the development so far. But to help get people engaged, some days on farm stand we'll play music to let people know, like, hey, we're out here, we're giving out the produce. Word of mouth is a huge one. For me, for example, when it comes to farm stand, I will call up neighbors, I will call up friends, I'll tell neighbors, hey, knock on your neighbor's door. Let them know we have the farm stand going. Just come down, try the produce for 1 week. You'll love it. I know you will. And then just keep coming back for more. It's that simple.
And so thank you for that. There's a question by Isaiah. Hi, Isaiah. He's asking, I don't think she can grow watermelons. Can you? Or can you?
We can grow mini watermelons. Bigger watermelons would also be possible to grow, yet we just don't have the room for it at the moment. But watermelons is possible to grow in New York. It would just have to be started over the winter months in a greenhouse, and then we would transplant it during the warmer months so that the watermelon can continue to grow in the warm weather.
Yeah, I know that because they're having a conversation in the chat, which I can see, about watermelons being able to be grown in certain zone and yada yada yada. So, and you will, and Kyara says that you will correct her. So yes, this is the lovely conversation that they are having about watermelons. So Isaiah, Isaiah says you want to see me. Good old Isaiah. He covered with a shopping cart. Okay, Isaiah.
That's fine. Right. We always have plenty of produce.
Yeah, we do. So, so you mentioned that they're asking me if I could sing. Yes, we can. I will send you the site, and I have. So there's some more questions. Let me hold tight. Ooh, y'all asking more questions. Ooh, can't even keep up. What's the most challenging to grow?
Oh, that is a good question. On my site, what is the most challenging to grow? is honestly things like zucchinis, squashes, eggplants, and cucumbers. Not for the agricultural reason, but for some reason, the squirrels in Howard are very mean and they just think all the produce is there. So they'll just come and just ravage the produce before it can either fully grow or before we have a chance to harvest it.
So they like it. They like it because it's probably easy to get, but it's good though. Zucchini is really good. It's
Yeah.
really good. I would probably snag some too, but why not? I could just ask for it if it grows.
Right.
And so I'm really curious about this. What advice would you give someone who's interested in growing like a small garden within their home? Like how would they get that started?
I would say start with something small and something that doesn't die easily. Because I know a lot of people, when they decide that they want to start growing things in their house, they start with maybe flowers. With flowers, if you don't water it enough or if it doesn't have enough sunlight, they are very quick to die. Same thing with certain produce crops, like lettuce. If you don't give it enough water or sunlight, it is very quick to die or stunt its growth. Something I would recommend is more along the herb side. So mint. Mint is a great option because mint is very hard to kill. It is drought resistant. It survives through the winter. It thrives in the sunlight, yes. Yet if it doesn't have enough sunlight, it still won't just give out on you. It doesn't require a super lot of watering, but you should still water it consistently. And it comes in, you only need to plant it once because it comes back every year on its own. So in the winter, the leaves will fall off and it'll kind of look like a dead shrub. Yet give it time, and as the weather warms up, it'll just naturally start regenerating its leaves again.
Yeah, y'all need to stop cutting up in this chat. I'm gonna put up some of these comments so you can see these lively folks. So hey Ebony. So Ebony says if you live in Brooklyn but don't live in NYCHA housing unit, can you still receive produce?
Yes. Our main target audience is NYCHA residents. Yet if you're not a NYCHA resident, we're not going to turn you away. You can still get produce.
Okay, more questions. How can you grow organic veggies in an apartment if you don't have a lot of natural sunlight? Good question.
There are a few options. There are things called grow lights now that you can order off of websites like Amazon or eBay, and they emit the same level of UV rays that sunlight would give off, and you can just simply have that hanging over your plant to give it the same nutrition that sunlight would give it. Or you can try to find plants that don't require as much sunlight, because there are plants that aren't as loving of sunlight and they're like, okay, I only need a little bit, and you can just leave me in the shade for the other 85%.
So more questions. Oh my goodness, you guys, I trying to catch up. Okay, Isaiah, I'm gonna give you some like that. He goes, I can't grow flowers. I come back to them brown and dead. I think I watered them too much. He said he'd be drowning his plants. My goodness. We getting some tips though, Isaiah. Get it together.
So when it comes to drowning plants, for that, one thing I will say is if you are the type of person to overwater, make sure your plants have a good runoff system. So you don't want to keep them in an enclosed plant, in an enclosed potter. So I have this water bottle. It's closed on the bottom. I wouldn't want to water a plant in this before poking holes into it, because the excess water that the plant doesn't soak up needs to be able to run out so that your plant isn't drowning.
So, hey, Ermani, do you know how many farms Green City Forest has around New York City?
Yes, at the moment we have 5, constantly looking to expand in new developments.
And then, hey, Ashley. So Ashley asks, what will happen when we first walk in your site? Well, first of all, I could say they'll greet you with nice, warm smiles. That's for sure.
So it honestly depends on what day. If you're coming on a farm stand day, we will be greeting you and we will give you the rundown of how farm stand works, which is essentially we'll take some data collecting information to keep track of how we're doing during the farm season. Then once that's done, we have some information, some basic information like name, number, email. We will then proceed to let you know what we have for a farm stand today: collards, mustards, turnips, so on and so forth. And then we'll ask you, hey, would you like some of everything? Is there something you don't want? We can omit it from the bag. And if it's towards the end and we have extra, sometimes we will give out extra produce if somebody asks for it.
And so Angie says some people are making mini DIY greenhouses in their apartment. Yes,
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. Because if you can have a mini greenhouse in your apartment, you can essentially feed yourself from your apartment. You can grow microgreens, you can grow full size greens, and you can just make salads. You can make yourself pots of greens or all types of dishes just based off of that.
And listen, I'm trying to keep up, you all. So Kyara says, is container gardening a good option for growing in an apartment?
Yes, it's actually a great option. You don't need to have an actual pot, or you don't need to have an actual planter. Produce and plants can grow anywhere. The same way how if you've been to a outdoor train station that is like on ground level but it's outdoor, if you look in some of the gravel, you can actually see like little plants growing up in between the gravel. We all know the MTA didn't plant it there. It's just plants grow with themselves. So long as it has enough drainage for excess water and it has sufficient light, whether that be a grow light or sunlight, then any container you can find can grow produce. You would just need to maintain it a bit better. So if it's something that has bigger leaves, like a zucchini plant, it can grow pretty big leaves. You would just need to keep cutting it back and essentially training your plant to let it know, hey, I know you like to grow big, yet you're in a tight space. So if you can kind of keep it smaller for me, that'd be appreciated.
Also, is it okay to talk to your plants? I've been talking to this plant that I have right now.
Plants love to be interacted with. Talking to them, singing to them, they love it.
And so, hi, Miss Barillis. Says, I find it hard to maintain my succulent plants. Help.
So with succulents, they can be a bit tricky because with succulents, you're told that they're a bit more drought resistant, yet with them being drought resistant, they may need more support in other areas. So where if you think of cacti in Arizona and the deserts, you may think, okay, well, they don't need a lot of water, so I don't really need to do anything with them. While they're not getting a lot of water, they are getting a lot of sunlight. So sometimes, although a plant may not need a lot of water, it may need a lot of sunlight. It may not need a lot of sunlight, but it may need a lot of water. You kind of just have to research into your plant to know what specifically it needs and tailor to its needs.
Thank you for that. Hi, Saeed. What are some types of plants that you can plant that don't require a lot of space?
So in terms of width and how wide a plant would be, I would say something that doesn't get super wide are plants like tomato plants. Those can grow high, but not typically wide. So long as you're training it, they'll grow tall, but not wide. Things that typically vine, so tomatoes, snap peas, cucumbers, and greens, they don't need, if you're planting just one stem of greens, they typically don't need a lot of space. The stem itself is very thin, and the leaves may fan out to be quite large, but if you're harvesting it, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. You can honestly harvest them at whatever point you think the leaf is big enough for you.
So thank you for that. Isaiah says, I tried growing plants, but it came out looking deformed. Yeah, I don't know what I did.
So with carrots, all carrots aren't straight the way you see in the supermarket. All of them, baby carrots, don't look like that when you're growing them naturally. And that can be from a mixture of things. It can just be sometimes, when you're growing things, you have nature, you have wind, you have the force of water. It can honestly shift the seed in like mid growing process. And so now instead of your carrot going straight up, it now has a curve in it. But it's still the same carrot. It's still good. Not everything it's not always gonna come out straight.
And so I have more questions. Miss Barilla says, thank you. I've killed 3. Maybe the 4th will go well.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. And so thank you for the questions. Why don't more people buy food at these organic sites in comparisons to supermarkets? That's a really good question.
It is a good question. In my experience, I attribute it more to unawareness about it. A lot of people seem to think, so something I've heard a lot during my time in GCF is, oh, I don't want the local produce because there's squirrels that run through the bed. Or, you know, like there's butterflies that fly around, or we see flies in the farm. And you know, when you think about supermarkets, you're like, oh, but they don't have squirrels running through the places where they're growing things at. Like, that's what people tend to think. One, I cannot confirm that because it is outdoors and I have not been to one of these mass producing sites. Two, while a mass producing site may not have squirrels and things running through there, they have chemicals on their pesticides to keep these pests off. Now, in an organic site such as ours, there may be pests, but there are natural remedies to keep pests at bay. And we won't ever give out anything that has pests on it because we wouldn't want to harm anybody like that. Chance it, whether it's harmful or not, we wouldn't want to chance it. And a lot of people just seem to think that going to the supermarket where I know like it's certified organic or it has a FDA label on it. I don't even remember. USDA. There we go. If it has a USDA organic label on it, it's better than what you're growing here. And if that's somebody's opinion, you know, they'll change it when they're ready to.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I know that the veggies, it made a nice soup. So yeah, I have more questions for you. This is so exciting. All the questions. Well, this is actually a statement. Hey, Ricky, a month ago, I planted a flower. I gave a quarter water a bottle every day, and I put it in the window, but it dies a few later. Quarter what? Isn't it? Oh, the quarter water bottle. Is that a lot of water? I guess. I'm not sure.
For one singular plant in one area, that can be a lot of water, especially if it doesn't have the proper drainage. Now, if you're spreading it out along, let's say, a 12-inch window planter, that's not a lot of water. But if it's one circular plant and a circular pot, that can be quite a bit of water for it. And it also just depends on the lifespan of the flower.
So Ashley asks, are you guys open to grow cilantro or any other fruits?
So this year we don't have cilantro growing, but in previous years we have had cilantro growing. I just decided to not go with it this year because cilantro, once you grow it, it is very hard to stop growing it because the flowers are so fragile when cilantro flowers and goes to seed that the slightest summer breeze will scatter cilantro everywhere, and now your whole farm is practically cilantro.
Yeah.
So this year I'm just taking a break from cilantro, but yes, we grow it. We have grown it before. And in terms of fruits, it's a small selection of fruits that we can grow. I personally don't have any on my site. Yeah, I know of other sites that have strawberries and raspberries, and I believe blueberries, but it's hard to grow things that grow tropically on fruit on trees because we just don't have the climate for it. But things that grow in bushes, we can definitely grow.
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. Cilantro sounds almost like a weed. Oh my goodness. I'm not even gonna put that up. My goodness, you all. So I'm gonna give a few more moments to see if there's any more questions as we are close to wrapping up. Where could we find your organization on social media? And how could they get involved? Because I know that there are some opportunities for jobs and
yes. So on social media, all of the social media handles are Green City Forest on Instagram and Facebook, and we also have a second Instagram page that is Green City Forest Service Corps. GCF Service Corps. And that is where we post most of our in-field information at and pictures and things like that. Yet for the more logistical and like recruitment things, we may post it more on the main page of Green City Forest, both Instagram and Facebook. For becoming a member or volunteering, you can go on the website, which is at the bottom of the screen, greencityforce.org. You know you got the right website when you open up the website and you see a picture of me. We have a section for volunteering, and we also have a category for recruitment if you're welcome, if you're interested in being a core member. Only requirements is 18 through 24, NYCHA resident, high school diploma, and we have great benefits. So when you go through orientation and boot camp, you start off with a weekly Metro card, then it turns into a monthly Metro card for free throughout your term of service. You get a stipend twice a month for $531 after taxes. We offer various trainings like the OSHA 30, G Pro, sustainability trainings to continue growing in the green sector if you'd like. Some years we have trainings like like getting your food handler certification if you'd like. And you, at the end of your term of service, you also get a Siegel Award from AmeriCorps, which is an education award that lasts for 7 years. And the amount can vary depending on the fiscal year of FAFSA and TAP. It runs along the same amount of that amount. So it can go anywhere from 2,000 to 6,000, so on and so forth. It's up to that year. Whatever AmeriCorps decides is what they decide to give you. And it lasts for up to 7 years, and you can apply to any schooling or training so long as your schooling or training of choice is SUNY or CUNY in terms of college, or so long as they accept the Siegel Award as forms of payment. And if you have student loans, you can also pay off your student loans using your AmeriCorps award.
So, I bet you all was not expecting all of that and how a way to go to school without incurring debt. You wasn't expecting that, right? Welcome to the Brownsville Minute, everybody, where you get information and learning about your financial track and your journey not being in debt. So thank you so much for that. And so on that note, as you see, as we are wrapping up this segment with Green City Force, Kyara Grant, I am super thankful for you taking time out of your schedule to come and share these wonderful tips, because everybody looks like they're going to be growing, having their indoor own greenhouses, and also, we're going to learn how to take care of ourselves as well by eating a lot more healthier with the things that we produce. Do you have anything that you want to wrap up with?
I would like to say it's my pleasure to be here. I love spreading out the information for Green City Forest and just farming in general, and how to, eat better and have healthier produce. It's not for anything like weight loss or any of those mainstream. It's honestly just for personal betterment is all I want for anybody. And I honestly hope to see everybody who's in these comments today. I honestly hope to see y'all at least one Saturday out of this year to come by. We're open from 11 to 2 on Saturdays, and farm stands will be going until mid-November. So you guys can have your, Thanksgiving and holiday veggies, because over the weeks you can just freeze and storm and have them ready for the holidays when the farm is closed. I'm just really excited to see y'all.
And so maybe we'll make that an assignment, a Saturday fun assignment for my SYEP. I know we said we ain't going to do Saturdays. We ain't got to work, but we'll go visit a farm. So I got some rapid fire 1-word questions that I like to ask all of my guests, just really kind of get to know you in a different light. So what's your favorite borough?
Brooklyn.
In the house. Always. What do you do in your downtime?
Reading or YouTube.
Favorite exercise?
Either jumping jacks or jump rope.
Pizzas or burgers?
Burgers.
Smoothies or ice cream?
Smoothies.
The legacy that you would like to leave your family?
Oh, that's a good one. Honestly, just healing and success.
Healing and success. Did you see? Look at this. I'm going to put up some of these shout outs.
Evelyn.
And they're complaining because it's the Brownsville Minute is only an hour. They are and go, oh yes, she's really a farmer, Isaiah. Thank you. And so on that note, I want to say thank you again for joining the Brownsville Minute. We are going to close out this episode with actually showing they go farmers can't eat burgers. Yes, eat burgers. I'm telling you, this chat is something else. I'm actually going to share just a video from on your organization's page because I think it's one that speaks to actually what you all are doing. And I think I want to just share it as the way we are wrapping up. But thank you so much for joining, and I will see you.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
To let them know that not everything belongs in the trash. Hey, good afternoon, sir. My name is Charles Prabhu. I work for Green City Forest. We're teaching residents on how to recycle. You'll get these free bags. With the blue is metal, glass, plastic, cartons, jars, and glass bottles.
You have very much enlightened me today. I appreciate y'all doing this, and everybody, on the same page.
Yes, sir.
I grew up in Brooklyn. At the age of 13, I moved to Brownsville, Nitro Development. I graduated high school technically in 2014 because the year I would have graduated was 2011. I had a child. My whole life just went like, boom. What are you going to do? You're going to have a baby. You're still a child, basically. It was unexpected. I was literally at my sister's house and I seen Green City Forest come into the neighborhood and do a beautification project. I'm a vegan, so I wanted to do, what they were doing. I watch a lot of documentaries, and the studies show that people that get into gardening reduce stress levels, reduce crime rates, and actually motivate them to get jobs. So it's not just about planting in the dirt. They're actually doing something with their hands. So you're more relaxed. You understand something.
Leaf miners are little bugs that they burrow into the leaf, and they basically eat the chlorophyll.
And then next thing you know, you're connected to more people, and you're networking, and you're learning all these skills that you thought you could never learn. Because these skills aren't really put towards us in our environments.
Our education system does not teach young people how to work. We learn to work by working. Service years provide a platform for young people to have a first work-like experience, being able to work in a team, take initiative, communicate in a way that gets somebody to care. These are really important skills, no matter what job people go on to do.
Turn the culture of the company around.
We are constantly trying to cultivate new employer partners to be able to expand the opportunities available to our graduates.
I had been in contact with Green City Forest back in 2015. Had a lot of respect for the work they were doing, the commitment levels of the staff. I just have the papers, I don't have the clipboard. Never would I thought in the future that I would be teaching people how to recycle or teaching people how to be energy efficient.
We do free LED upgrades to homes that qualify.
No charges.
No charges. You have a bag to fill, numbers you have to be on point with, you have your laptop, and you even have a ladder with your name on it.
Within this,
Young people are the future, and service years are a fantastic platform through which young people can be enlisted to be part of the solution and at the same time gain skills and experience on a path to careers.
With this position, I'm earning more money than I ever did in my life. I can still save my money and everything, but still have money to do things with my daughter. I want to stay in the sustainability field. In the next few years, I would really love to earn a bachelor's degree because I feel like I'm capable of doing that, you know?
So there you have it. It is definitely not foreign to us as Black and Brown individuals about learning about farming, sustaining ourselves. I think that, as Ms. Grant mentioned, that it's important to think about it differently and how we can really engage our young people into the future. So on that note, I want to thank you all for joining the Brownsville Minute. Stay tuned. We will be back next week, Thursday, with something even more exciting. And so it is really an opportunity for us to get together, kick back for less than an hour. The truth is the hour goes by really quickly. But again, thank you for joining the Brownsville Minute. Please join and stay tuned for the upcoming announcements if you missed them in the beginning of the Brownsville Minute. And stay tuned. Bye-bye.